In the previous lecture, we started to discuss about the diffraction pattern which is obtained in the case of double slit. So now we are going to find how the diffraction pattern looks in case we have large number of parallel slits. So in this case, instead of just 2 slits or 1 slit, we will have large number of n slits. So n parallel slits we will be having. So in this we will consider the diffraction pattern by n parallel slits. So these are the parallel slits which are shown over here. This transparent portion, so this is the opaque portion. The one which is shown by the black lines is the opaque one and light will not pass through them, and these portions are the transparent ones, so the light will pass and will get diffracted and diffraction pattern will be observed on the screen. So this is the first slit, this is the second slit, this one is the third, and so on. You can have n number of parallel slits. So each slit has a width equal to b. So this distance, that is the width of the slit, is equal to small b, and the distance between the two consecutive slits is considered to be equal to small d. So this distance was considered to be equal to small b, and this distance, that is from first slit to the second slit, is considered to be small d. So now we are going to find how the diffraction pattern will look like. So let me tell you, the whole derivation of finding the intensity is not in your syllabus. As you can see in the syllabus, you have to study this article qualitatively. So you do not have to study it quantitatively, that is, you do not have to do the derivations of intensity. So we will just take the formula of intensity as it is, and you will remember this formula as it is. So now we are considering the n number of slits. So first of all, we have seen in the case of double slit. So from each slit will be responsible for its own diffraction pattern. As we have seen in the case of a single slit diffraction pattern, that due to a single slit, if you have only this slit, then there is a diffraction pattern obtained. Means the light will get bent in all the directions and diffraction pattern will be obtained on the screen. And then in the case of double slit, we saw that the diffraction pattern is obtained due to individual slit. That is, this slit will also cause its diffraction pattern and this slit will also cause its diffraction pattern, and these two diffraction patterns, they will interfere with each other and the resultant diffraction pattern is obtained on the screen. So that we call it as the interference of the light from the two slits. So that we saw in the case of double slit. Now we are taking the example of n parallel slits. So in this case also the method will remain the same. That is, from every single slit a diffraction pattern will be observed. So this slit will also cause its diffraction pattern, this slit will also cause the diffraction of the light, and so on. And all these lights from each slit, they will interfere with each other. So we will divide the diffraction pattern into two parts. First is the diffraction pattern due to single slit. So let's say at P point, which is the observation point on the screen, and the angle of diffraction is theta. So let's say all these parallel rays which are drawn, these all parallel rays, they are making an angle of theta with the horizontal, and due to these rays from a single slit, so these rays which are drawn from a single slit, they will cause some diffraction pattern at P point. So they will cause a particular amplitude of the light at the P point. So amplitude from each slit is given by, so amplitude from each slit, we are talking about the amplitude from each slit. So if I take this first slit, so amplitude due to the light which is getting diffracted from this slit, so that amplitude is due to diffraction. So here I am talking only about a single slit. So due to a single slit there is only diffraction, and if you have more than one slits, then you will also talk about interference. So just now we are talking about a single slit, so we have to take into account only the diffraction. So the amplitude from each slit will be given by, let's say it is given by R0, and it has a relation with the phase difference. So it has a relation is equal to A, which is a constant, into sine of beta divided by beta. This we have already seen in the previous lecture. There we have said that the intensity due to a diffraction intensity due to diffraction of light is equal to I0 into sine square beta divided by beta square, because intensity is nothing but the square of the amplitude. So when you will do the square of the amplitude of this equation, so you will get the intensity of the light due to the diffraction which is occurring at a single slit. So this is the amplitude, this is the formula of amplitude, and this is the formula of intensity that we have seen in the previous lectures. And the twice of beta, there we saw the twice of beta was the phase difference between the two light rays which are coming from the two ends of the same slit. So that is 2 beta, which is the phase difference, and that is equal to phase difference. We have seen that phase difference is related by the path difference. So the path difference b sine theta, it is the path difference between the two light rays which is coming from the two ends of the same slit, and twice of beta is the corresponding phase difference of these two lights, and we have related over here the phase difference with the path difference. So phase difference is always equal to 2 pi by lambda into the path difference. So over here phase difference is twice of beta, and path difference in the case of diffraction at a single slit is equal to b sine theta. So you can go through the previous lectures where we discussed about the diffraction at a single slit. So there you will see that intensity has this form. So we derived this formula, and also you will see that the path difference b sine theta is related to the phase difference which we took is equal to twice of beta. So from here we can say that beta is equal to pi by lambda into b sine theta, where theta is the angle of diffraction for a particular point. So let's say for this observation point the diffraction angle is theta, and for some other angle, let's say at this point the diffraction angle will be less than this particular angle. So the theta diffraction angle, it depends upon the position of the observation point. So this is the result, this is the amplitude due to diffraction at a single slit. But now we have n number of parallel slits, so here we have to take into account the interference of light from all these slits. So the resultant amplitude that you will get, so at P point you will get the resultant amplitude due to all these light rays which are reaching the point P. So the resultant amplitude due to n parallel slits, or you can say n coherent sources. In the case of Young's double slit experiment, we have said that the two slits of the Young's double slit experiment, they act as the two coherent sources. So over here also, instead of n slits, we can say that these are the n coherent sources, and when you will do its derivation, you will see that the resultant amplitude due to n slits it comes out to be equal to R0, which is the amplitude due to the diffraction at a single slit, into a factor which is given by sine n alpha divided by sine alpha. So you have to remember this formula, that the resultant amplitude at P point due to n parallel slits is equal to R0. So this is the amplitude, this R0 is the amplitude due to the diffraction at a single slit, into this factor sine n alpha divided by sine alpha. So now the corresponding intensity distribution, so now we have to find the intensity at P point. So the corresponding intensity due to this whole resultant amplitude will be just equal to square of this resultant amplitude. So square of this equation will give us the corresponding net intensity at a point, at the observation point on the screen. So net intensity capital I, that will be equal to I0 into sine square beta divided by beta square. Now this factor sine square beta divided by beta square, it represents the intensity distribution produced by a single slit due to diffraction. So this first factor of sine square beta divided by beta square, this we have already seen in the case of a single slit. So this is due to diffraction which is occurring at a single slit, into sine square n alpha divided by sine square alpha, that is into square of this factor. So we have just done square on both hand sides. So the left hand side will be the net intensity, and the right hand side will give us the expression of the net intensity. So over here, as in this case twice of beta was equal to 2 pi by lambda into path difference. So over here this twice of alpha, it is the phase difference between the two corresponding light rays which are coming from the two slits. So here we are talking about the interference. So this factor is due to the diffraction which is occurring at a single slit. But this another factor, it comes due to the interference which occur between the light rays which are coming from the two slits. So these are the corresponding light rays which are coming from the two consecutive slits, or you can say which are coming from the all the n slits. So this is the factor that gives us the contribution of the interference. So sin square n alpha divided by sin square alpha, this factor, it gives the distribution of intensity in the diffraction pattern that we obtain due to interference. So this factor, it gives us the distribution of intensity due to interference in the light rays which are coming from n number of slits. So all the light rays which are coming from the n slits, they will interfere, and that interference is taken into account by this factor. So this twice of alpha over here, it is the phase difference between the two light rays which are coming from the two corresponding light rays which are coming from the two consecutive slits. So let's consider the light ray which is coming from this point of the first slit, from this top end of the first slit. So we are considering this light ray, and we will consider the light ray which is coming from the same corresponding point but from the another slit, that is we are taking this light ray. So these light rays which are coming from the top ends of their own slits. So this light ray is coming from this point, and this light ray is coming from this same point of the second slit. So now we are considering what is the phase difference between these two light rays. So earlier in the case of diffraction pattern, in the case of a single slit, we took into account this light ray as well as this light ray. So the phase difference between these two light rays was equal to twice of beta. Now in this case of interference, we take into account the different slits. So now we take into account this light ray and this light ray of two slits. So what is the phase difference between these two light rays? That is given by twice of alpha. Now what is the distance from this point that we have considered to this point, this whole distance? So what is this whole distance? That is from this point to this point. So what will be the distance? It will be b, that is this distance which is the width of the slit, plus the separation between the two slits which is given by small d. So what is this whole distance? It is equal to b plus d. And the path difference between these two light rays that we have seen in the case of Young's double slit experiment, that path difference will be given by b plus d. That is this whole length which is the distance between the two rays which we are considering, that is b plus d. So b plus d into sine of theta will be the path difference between these two light rays. And so what will be the phase difference? That is twice of alpha, it will be equal to 2 pi by lambda into the path difference between these two light rays. And what is the path difference? It is equal to b plus d into sine of theta. So from here you can say that alpha is equal to pi by lambda into b plus d sine theta. So this is the expression of alpha, and this first factor sin square beta divided by beta square, it comes due to diffraction at a single slit, and we can see the light which is coming from all these slits, they will interfere with each other and resultant amplitude is formed at P point. So at P point there will be either maxima or there will be minima. So that will be decided by the path difference. So this first factor is due to diffraction at a single slit, and this second factor is due to the interference of the light rays which are coming from all these slits. So that will give us the net intensity on the screen. Now for n is equal to 1, let's say when n is equal to 1. Now n is the number of slits that are present. So let's say if there is only one slit, so in that case what will be the intensity? If you put n is equal to 1, so this sine square alpha will cancel with sine square alpha, and you will be just left with intensity is equal to I0 into sine square beta divided by beta square, which is nothing but the intensity of the light due to a single slit. So when you will put n is equal to 1, you will get a single slit diffraction. And when you will substitute similarly n is equal to 2, you will get double slit diffraction. That is, you will get all the conditions that we had done in the previous lectures for the case of n is equal to 1 and n is equal to 2. So this article, you can say it is a more general form. So it is for n number of slits, and in the previous lectures we had done the derivation for n is equal to 1 and n is equal to 2. We are going to see the various conditions for obtaining principal maxima and minima on the diffraction screen. So now we have written the general formula of intensity that we had seen, that it is equal to I0 into sine square beta divided by beta square into sine square n alpha divided by sine square alpha, where n is the total number of slits that we are using. So now in this formula, we are going to obtain the condition of principal maxima. So what we will use? So for principal maxima, this intensity factor on the left hand side, it must be maximum. So to obtain principal maxima, or to obtain the condition of maxima on the screen, the intensity, this whole factor, it must be maximum, and you can see that intensity will be maximum when this sine square alpha, that is equal to 0. So this factor in the denominator, it must be equal to 0. So in that case intensity will be maximum. So you can say that sine alpha, so intensity will be maximum when sine of alpha is equal to 0. So at this point sine alpha is equal to 0. Sine alpha is 0 when alpha is equal to plus minus n pi. So this is the condition when sine alpha is 0. So for n is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3. So this n integer, it can take any value from 0, 1, 2, 3. So let's say it has a value of 0. So in that case alpha will be equal to 0, and if alpha will be equal to 0, this sine square alpha is 0, and the numerator will also be becoming equal to 0. So if alpha is equal to 0, you will get 0 over 0. And similarly for the other values of alpha, that is if you have plus pi, minus pi, plus 2 pi, minus 2 pi, so for all that cases, the numerator, that will be 0, as well as the denominator will be equal to 0. So how do we find the value of maximum intensity? So this will result into the values of alpha that we have got. This will result in getting sine n alpha, or you can say sine square n alpha divided by sine square alpha. So I am writing over here sine n alpha divided by sine alpha, that will be equal to 0 over 0. So this is indeterminate. So we will use the properties of limits how to solve this term. So that you have already done in mathematics, maybe to how to solve the 0 over 0 limit. So in that case you will apply, so if you have 0 over 0 condition, in that case you apply the L'Hospital rule. So what does this rule say? That if in case for any values of these variables you get a 0 over 0 form, so in that case you will take the derivative of the above, as well as you will take the derivative of the denominator, and then you will insert these values of alpha. So for now, when you will insert these particular values of alpha, that is alpha is equal to plus minus n pi, so if you will substitute any of these values, you will get 0 over 0. And if in case you have 0 over 0 form, so we will use in that case the L'Hospital rule, which says that in the case of 0 over 0 condition, condition, you take the derivative of numerator as well as the derivative of denominator, and then again you put the values of alpha. So now we are using the L'Hospital rule. So for that we will put limit of alpha tends to plus minus n pi. So we have to substitute alpha plus minus n pi. So now I am using the limit of alpha approaching to plus minus n pi, and this limit is applied on n alpha divided by sine of n alpha divided by sine alpha. So now we will take the derivative of above and the denominator. So that will be, limit will remain as it is. So derivative of sine n alpha with respect to alpha, that is equal to, so derivative of the numerator with respect to alpha, that will be equal to n into cos of n alpha divided by the derivative of the denominator with respect to alpha, so that will be simply cos of alpha. So now when you will put this limit of alpha over here, so for cos of plus minus n pi, that will be either plus minus 1, and also cos of capital N alpha, that will also take values plus minus n pi. So when you will substitute this limit over here now after using the L'Hospital rule, so this whole fraction, it will come out to be equal to plus minus n. So only this factor will remain, and it can be either positive or it can be negative according to the values of alpha that you are using. So this is the value of this fraction. So this sine square n alpha divided by sine square alpha, that will be just equal to n square. So in that case intensity will be equal to I0 into sine square beta divided by beta square into, now we are finding the intensity only when alpha is equal to plus minus n pi. So for only these values of alpha, this fraction takes a value of plus minus n. So over here in the case of intensity, we have square of sine n alpha and sine alpha. So we will do square of this and you will get just n square. And you can clearly see that this is the maximum intensity. So for other values of alpha except plus minus n pi, if you will put other values of alpha, the intensity will surely come less than this factor. And over here on the left hand side, I have drawn a graph of the function of this function sine square n alpha divided by sine square alpha. So I have drawn only this function with respect to alpha. So on the horizontal axis we have alpha. So when alpha is equal to 0, so when alpha is equal to 0, we get a maximum, and then again we get a maximum when alpha is equal to plus pi and when alpha is equal to minus pi. So from this formula of alpha, from these values of alpha, the next maximum will be obtained when alpha is equal to plus pi and alpha is equal to minus pi. And this is when capital N is equal to 5. So this graph, first graph is shown when capital N, that is the number of parallel slits that we are using, that are equal to 5. Now what happens if you increase the number of slits? So let's say if you increase the number of slits from N is equal to 5 to N is equal to 12. So in that case, this function of sine square n alpha divided by sine square alpha, if you will plot this function will look something like this. So in this case, the maxima, they are obtained at the same points. The maximas, they are obtained at the same points, but when you have increased the number of slits, you can see the sharpness of the peak has increased. So over here, the sharpness of the peak was not much, but in this case, when you have increased the number of slits, the sharpness has increased. So this maxima, it has a very small width as compared to this one. So over here, the sharpness is less as compared to when we have increased the number of slits. So on the horizontal axis, we have the variable alpha. This is the condition that we have obtained for obtaining maxima in the case of diffraction at multiple slits. So alpha was equal to twice of alpha we had put equal to 2 pi by lambda into b plus d sine theta. So alpha will be equal to pi by lambda into b plus d sine theta. So what is the condition of alpha for obtaining maxima? So for obtaining maxima, alpha is equal to plus minus n pi. So this alpha that we have got from this expression, it must be equal to plus minus n pi. So from this formula you can see that b plus d sine theta. So b plus d sine theta, what is this expression? We have already seen that b plus d sine theta, it is the path difference between the two corresponding light rays from two consecutive slits. So b plus d sine theta is the path difference. So this path difference will come out to be equal to plus minus n lambda. So this pi will cancel with pi. So b plus d sine theta will be equal to plus minus n lambda. So this will give us the direction of the principal maxima. So when n is equal to 0, for n is equal to 0, when you will put n is equal to 0, this theta will come out to be equal to 0. So this gives us the direction of 0 order principal maxima. So theta is equal to 0 gives us the direction of the 0 order principal maxima. Then when you will put n is equal to 1, n is equal to 2, n is equal to 3 and so on, when you will put the other values of n over here, you will get the corresponding first, second, third, etc. So you will get first, second, third order principal maxima. So for various values of small n, you will get various principal maxima, and that has been shown over here also, that for alpha is equal to 0 you get a maxima, then for alpha is equal to pi you get a maxima, then for minus pi and so on you get the maxima for various values of alpha. Or you can say this particular formula, it gives us the direction. So theta is the angle of diffraction. So using this formula we can actually find the direction of the various principal maxima if we are given with the order of the particular principal maxima which we are talking about. Now we are going to find out the condition of minima. So at what values we get a minima? So the intensity equation, it remains as it is. The general formula of intensity for the case of multiple slits, that is equal to I0 into sine square beta divided by beta square into sine square n alpha divided by sine square alpha. So this is the general expression of intensity for the case of and parallel slits. So now we are going to see when intensity is equal to 0, that is we are going to find the condition of minima. So intensity will be 0 when this factor sine square n alpha, when this sine square n alpha is equal to 0 but sine square alpha is not equal to 0. So as in the previous case of maxima, in the case of maxima we have seen that sine square alpha is also equal to 0 and sine square n alpha is also equal to 0. But now in the condition of minima, this intensity must be equal to 0. So for that sine square alpha, that is the denominator, it must not be equal to 0. So it should be non-zero, whereas the numerator must be equal to 0. So that will make this intensity, net intensity is equal to 0. So for that intensity must be equal to 0, which means that sine square n alpha, or you can say sine n alpha, is equal to 0. And this is a very important condition, that and sine alpha should not be equal to 0. So sine alpha, which is the denominator, that should not be equal to 0, but sine n alpha should be equal to 0. So sine n alpha is 0 when n alpha is equal to plus minus m pi. So in the previous case we were using the variable n, the integer n was used. In this case we are using the m integer. So m will take various values from 0, 1 to 3. So n alpha, it will be equal to plus minus m pi. So from here what will be the value of, what will be the condition of alpha? That will be plus minus m pi divided by capital N. So this is the condition of alpha for obtaining minima on the screen due to diffraction at multiple number of slits. So from here also you can put the value of alpha that we have seen, the expression which was equal to pi by lambda into b plus d into sine of theta. So then you can get the condition of b plus d sine theta from here also. We are going to see the various orders that are missing in the diffraction pattern of the multiple slits. So in the previous lecture also we had seen that in the case of double slit, some of the principal maxima, they are absent from the diffraction pattern, and the reason is that in that particular case the interference, there is a maxima of interference pattern, but at the same time, that is at the same point on the screen, there is a minima of the diffraction, and as a result the net effect on the screen at that particular point is that there is a minima, and hence we say that a particular order of the principal maxima is missing. That is due to the factor that at that particular point, at the same point, there is a minima due to diffraction. So in this case also, in the case of multiple number of slits, there are various orders of the principal maxima that are absent from the diffraction pattern, and the reason is the same, that there is a maxima due to interference, but at the same time, at the same point, there is a minima due to diffraction from a single slit. So the intensity was equal to I0. As we have seen, it is equal to I0 into sine square beta over beta square into sine square n alpha divided by sine square alpha, where beta was equal to pi by lambda into b sine theta and alpha was equal to pi by lambda into b plus d sine theta. As we have said, those orders of the principal maxima, they are absent from the diffraction pattern, where there is maxima due to interference, but there is a minima due to diffraction which is occurring at each slit. So the diffraction which is occurring at each slit, the resultant amplitude is 0, and due to interference it is coming out to be maxima at the same point. So the net effect will be a minima. So that particular principal maxima of that particular order will be missing from the diffraction pattern. So now we have to write the condition of the maxima which is obtained due to the interference. So the direction of principal maxima is given by b plus d sine theta, that we have seen that b plus d sine theta is equal to n lambda. So this is the condition of the principal maxima obtained in the case of diffraction pattern, and similarly the condition which is obtained for the case of minima in the case of diffraction pattern. So the path difference is equal to b sine theta in case of diffraction, and when it is equal to m lambda, only then there is a minima. So this is the condition of obtaining minima in the case of diffraction, and this is the condition of obtaining maxima in the case of interference. So the reason why the particular order of the interference maxima is missing, the reason is that if you have n number of slits, so the light which is coming from the first slit, the secondary wavelets, let's say you are observing the observation point on the screen, let's say it is at this point, capital P point. So the light rays which are coming due to diffraction, let's say they are making a minima. So we are saying due to diffraction there is a minima, but there is a maxima due to interference. So at that particular point, let's say if there is a diffraction, so due to diffraction there is a minima, so there will be destructive interference due to all the light rays which are coming from a single slit. Similarly, all the light rays which are coming from the second slit, they also make a minima due to diffraction. So this is the condition we have used, that due to diffraction there is a minima. So therefore the light rays which are coming from every slit. So these all light rays, they all will interfere destructively and hence they will also make up a minima. Similarly is the case for all the light rays which are coming from all the slits. So we are just assuming that due to diffraction there is minima. So if all these light rays which are coming from each slit, all these light rays which are coming and they are making a minima, so due to interference, when they all will interfere, there will be obviously destructive interference. So if all the light rays, they are making a minima individually which are coming from each slit, so they will make up a minima, and the light rays which are coming from second slit, they are also making a minima. Then the light rays which are coming from third slit, they are also making a minima, and so on. So the resultant amplitude will be equal to 0. So in that case, the maxima, if any maxima is obtained, in that case at that point, that maxima will be completely missing, and the reason is that due to diffraction there is destructive interference, there is complete destructive interference. Therefore that maxima that is obtained due to interference, it will be not present. So this is the condition of obtaining maxima due to interference, and this is the condition of obtaining minima due to diffraction. So now at a particular point, the angle of diffraction will be the same, that is theta will be the same. So in that case, we will divide these equations and you will get b plus d over b, that will be equal to n divided by m. So from here, if you will assume that b is equal to d. Now what is b? It is the width of the slit and d is the distance between the two consecutive slits. So let's say if b is equal to d, then in this case on the left hand side you will get a factor of 2 divided by 1. So if b is equal to d, you will get 2 divided by 1, that will be equal to n divided by m. Now n is the order of the principal maxima which is missing, because we have used the condition that there is a maxima due to interference and minima due to diffraction at P point, which has the angle of diffraction theta. So in that case, there will be complete destructive interference. So now we want to find the order of the principal maxima which is missing, that is we want to find the value of n. So this is the condition of interference, and this n gives us the order of the principal maxima, and we are doing the article of the orders which are absent from the diffraction pattern. Therefore this n will give us the order of the principal maxima which will be missing in the diffraction pattern. So what will be the values of n? What will be the order of the principal maxima which will be missing from the diffraction pattern when b is equal to d. So when b is equal to d, you will get 2 divided by 1 and n will be simply equal to 2 into m. So if m is equal to 1, then the second order will be missing. If m is equal to 2, 3, 4, and similarly you can find the other orders of the principal maxima that would be missing. So when you will put m is equal to 1, then you will get second order. Then when you will put m is equal to 2, 3, 4, so you will get second, fourth, sixth, etc. orders of the principal maxima. They will be missing in the